Welcome back, my fellow fans of the written word. How is it going? I had some rough times, so I didn't post a new episode in a few days. My aunt died, but you know what actually helps? Losing yourself in a good book, a really good book, such as this one. So without further ado, let's try and summarize the last stretch of chapters, which are quite a bit, chapters 45 to 58, since this is such a meaty book. So last time we left Perrin. He was in a bit of a pickle, and what happens was Trollocs have attacked the village, but they were repelled. There was also a group of traveling people around that was kind of in a really rough spot. Perrin invited them to evacuate to the village like everyone else from Two Rivers, but they refused. So after the attack that was repelled, he found a group of survivors and convinces them this time to go to the village for safety, but a lot of them were killed, like a lot of them. Only children and a few young ones were spared. Well, spared. They escaped with their lives. What happens is the Aes Sedai kind of fashion a banner of Wolf and Manetheren, which kind of annoys him, but the White Cloaks enter the picture, and they again do the whole old song and dance. They want to arrest Perrin, and Bernhold wants to hang Perrin, but he gives them an ultimatum: stay here in the village, defend us, and after we all survive the attack, after the village is saved, I'll go with you. Which they agree, but they totally don't honor it when it counts. And also, meanwhile, Perrin has a bit of a, not confrontation, just a kind of a anguishing situation. One of the survivors of the traveling people picks up a sword, which is a huge taboo, because, well, they are a people, a nation of pacifists, and they abhor all kinds of violence, and picking up a weapon is a huge taboo. But he kind of respects his decision, even though it alienates him from the other traveling people, and he asks Lan to train him in the sword. As I mentioned in a previous episode, he was wounded, but he is getting better, and he sends Fail to tell the queen and to find help, but he does this with a hidden kind of motive, because he doesn't think he's gonna survive the attack, and he wants her out of the picture to save her. But turns out she actually does save them all with the reinforcements she brings home. But she kind of, in a really sweet moment, she proposes to him. She says, yeah, I'm gonna go and ask the queen for help, but only if you marry me. Which he agrees, and I guess they are married now. As I mentioned, White Cloaks are useless, completely useless, but it also gives Perrin a sort of a reason to refuse to go with them because they did not honor their agreement. You didn't help in defending our village. We are banishing you from the village. And the white cloak guy is fuming, but he does as he's told. Something really significant happens at the White Tower, and I don't think I really expected this. I did expect some kind of shenanigans with Elida and her conspiracy. I expected that someone's gonna get hurt, or I expected a rogue faction. I did not expect a freaking coup. Elida overthrows Siwan Sanche and proclaims herself the Emerlin, and not only that, she has support of many sisters of different Aja, and she goes even a step further and stills Siwan and Liane, who is her accomplice, I guess. And thankfully, before they are kind of executed, I think that almost happened, they are rescued by Men, who is helped by the mistress of the kitchens. And by the way out, they pick up Logain, because Min sees something in him, sees that he's going to be significant. Also, there is this encounter with Gavin, which I'll talk about later, which I think is pretty significant for his character development. But he does let him go at one point, because Gavin he's kind of divided, because on one hand, he is loyal to the tower, but that doesn't mean he is loyal to the Emerlin, because first of all, she is withholding information about his sister Hannah Egwene, but we also need to take into account that since the conspirators have accused the Emerlin of being a dark friend, he is conflicted, and he thinks that he is no longer must obey the Emerlin, but the new. Another pretty cool thing that happens. So the girls in Tanchico, and they use the power, and they are visited by a forsaken woman called Mogadian, and she kind of compels them to reveal their plans, and kind of wipes their memory, because she doesn't, I guess, think that they will put her plans into jeopardy, whatever her plans are. But the girls do find Black Aja through the world of dreams. They also find some kind of object that's going to be dangerous for Rand, which comes in handy. They're taught by the wise ones. And also Nynaeve sees a vision of Black Aja holding hostage the Penarch. Penarch is a kind of a mayor of the city, a political position of some acclaim. And Nynaeve also breaks through her mind wipe and remembers the encounter with the Forsaken. Also, Slayer of all people shows up and attacks Nynaeve. So they return to the real world and they head for the palace, because that's where the action is. The Shanshan captain goes with them because they kind of like her. Egwene really likes her still, Nynaeve kind of begrudgingly, And Elaine goes to rescue the ruler of Terabon, the Panarch. And Nynaeve, on the other hand, wants to get the items that she saw that could hurt or will hurt Rand. And in the process, she is battling the Forsaken Woman. And the Forsaken Woman reveals to her that these are bracelets kind of similar to the Suldam necklaces, but with the difference being they can be used to control men who channel. So, but Nynaeve is crafty, even though they're evenly matched, and Nynaeve is pissed, and as we know, when Nynaeve is pissed, she goes ballistic. She does a sneaky thing and is just yeets, if I can use this modern vernacular, yeets the bracelet into the Forsaken's head, which kind of breaks her concentration for a bit, and she manages to shield the Forsaken Woman from the source, and ties her up, and she gets the seals, the items, but in the process she is attacked by the one of the Black Sisters. So Nynaeve manages to get away, but so does the Forsaken Woman. She disappears. Back to Rand. Rand is at Cold Rock's Hold, so he is traveling to the place where all of the chieftains are communing. And this is also Ruark's home. Couladin shows up, because of course he does. And he is, even though he is not proclaimed, he has not earned the right to be a clan chief. He never entered Rhuideon, but he claims to do so anyway. But he is also rejected. He's welcomed as a beggar, which is a great insult. A funny thing happens between Rand and Avienda, because he's kind of trying to bribe her into being nice towards him, and he gives her a bracelet because he saw that when they arrived to this hold, it was customary to give gifts to the head of the household. So he gives her a bracelet, but turns out he was making some kind of a gesture that held much more significance. I guess it meant that he was interested in her, which maybe he is, I don't know. He is a weird dude when it comes to women. But she accepts the gift, and her friends approve, apparently. Lanfear also appears in his dreams when he is having a naked sauna session with a bunch of women in his life, again. But in the midst of all of that, they're attacked by the Trollocs again, and other creatures, the Dragar, which is a poisonous flying thing. I always imagine a gargoyle, maybe it's not, but I imagine like a desert gargoyle bat. And one of the wise ones is even killed by this Dragar. So even though Ruark advises Ren to wait for a month until their final destination, which I misspoke. So they have to reach Arkal Dal, which is the place where all of the chieftains are gathering. The stop they took on the way there was Ruark's home. And after the attack, Ron decides to not wait and go there as soon as possible, because he knows that Couladin is already on the way there and he wants to sabotage him. So there he goes to this place called Al-Kardal, and he is represented by the maidens, the sword maidens, and both Kuladin and him announce that they're the chief of chiefs. And they both have the marks, the dragon tattoos, but it is evident that Kaladins are fake, Kuladins that are fake, and he challenges Kuladin to reveal what he saw in Rodion, because he knows that he never set foot in Rodion. And Rodion is accepted. Rand is accepted because he reveals that the whole backstory about the Way of the Leaf, and that kind of proves that he is the real deal. And of course, Kuladin attacks him because he's an idiot. But Kuladin escapes with his tail between his legs. I assume this is not the last time we'll see him, but I hope someone gives a good beating to this guy. But Rand realizes something. He recognizes that one of the peddlers was Lanfear all along, which he knew. But another peddler, the Gleeman character, which I suspected as well, turns out he is a Forsaken named Asmodean. And Asmodean went to Rodion, apparently. Rand thinks so, which he is correct, but I'm still not sure how he knew. But anyway, Asmodean goes to Rodion because he needs to find something, some kind of artifact or knowledge, and Rand manages to cut off the Asmodean from the Dark One, which I guess I think that has huge implications, but we'll talk about that later. So he manages to sever the connection to the Dark One, and he almost kills him, but Rand kind of agrees, or rather Asmodean agrees to teach him how to channel, because now that if other Forsaken find out that he is no longer a follower of the Dark One, he's toast. So he agrees. Also, I forgot to mention something very significant. When this whole confrontation between Kuladin and Rand happens, he pulls off a maneuver which greatly dazzles all of the present there, which is he summons the rain, and he also creates a lake, just for a desert nation where there's no such thing as taking a bath because that's too much water. That's shocking to them.
5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
My first question I have is about Perrin. So, in the end, he kind of takes over the Lord position, I suppose. But my question is he an empath? Because he, or rather Robert Jordan, often writes that he smells a feeling. So like he smelled of hatred when he referred to the White Cloak leader, or she smelled of confusion or something else. So is he an empath by the way of smell? He smells feelings. That's such a weird thing. Also, I have another question about stilling. So, Sion Sanche was stilled, and we know that's a thing because there is a thing such as gentling, which is severing the channeler from the source. And my question is, does stealing affect the mental well-being of female channelers the same way it affects males? Because we've seen that male channelers become suicidal. They lose all desire to live. And Siwan was, well, very distressed, but she held it together. And I don't think she was, or maybe she will become. But the main difference is female source is untainted, unlike the male source, which is tainted. So does this taint have to do with their emotional well-being? Next question. And I don't think this is a question that's specifically about this book, but the series at large. And this is a question that occurred to me only recently, and I should have asked this before. But are warders of Black Sisters in on it? What I mean is, well, obviously, how could they not be in on the fact that their Aes Sedai they're bound to is a Black Aja? But just the implications of this relationship. I suppose Black Aja are recruited in the tower, but it's just, how does that work? From what I've seen, all of the warders were really loyal, like to the point where they do not think about their own well-being. And also another question, which is, I guess, character-centric question. Will there ever be a time when Ren trusts Moraine completely? Or is he always going to be paranoid? And my last question is, so the Forsaken, the female Forsaken, Moghedien, she wipes the memory of Elaine. And why didn't she just steal Elaine? Sure, she found that she, in her mind, would not and will not affect her plans at all, but why not get rid of someone who is specifically set out to hunt Black Aja, and someone who's not the Black Aja, someone whose goals are diametrically opposed to yours, and you have ability to get rid of them? Why not steal them? I just don't understand that. It seems like a classic scenario of hoisted by their own petard. Let's move on to things I liked, which are numerous. It's super long. I just really liked Elaine laying out those pursuers, would-be kidnappers with a staff. Just that. And let's get back to Gavin. I like the fact that he killed Siwan's warder, and that may sound wrong. I don't mean it in that way. I'm not glad that her warder is dead, and that's a good thing. It's not. I like Siwan a lot. What I mean is, I think it achieves a lot for Gavin's character development. He is very conflicted. He's not black and white at all. He did something very questionable, but he thought he was doing the right thing, but he did murder someone who was on the side of good, did he? He's misguided, but he's also flawed, and I welcome that. I also like just when Rand keeps saying that he's not Aiel, and I realize now that this is a common theme between the three of them, between the Taviran boys. Perrin keeps saying, I'm not a lord. Rand, of course, keeps saying, I'm not an Aiel. And Matt is like, I don't care, which he absolutely does. And I'm not a warrior, which he is. an interesting parallel between the three of them. But concerning Rand, I just like that he's not vain. He knows his history, his heritage, but he don't want to pretend like he's one of them. He's of them, but I don't think he is one of them. And that's important. Also, I like a quote that Avienda said, "You accept changes more easily than I do, Randall Thor." Just this sober, completely serious statement that baffled Rand, even though he expected some kind of snarky response from her, but she said it really in a straightforward way, which I thought was amusing. Just their whole interaction is fun. Him bribing her without realizing the significance of the gift. Also, back to Matt, I really like his casual slip-ups with tactics and the old tongue, and he's mad at himself. And with Aiel, just in general, I do really like the story, the backstory of them failing the Aes Sedai in the past, and well, just the implications of what really happened aside, just the whole tale, this tragic tale of how they came to the threefold land, how they became the harsh people they are today. It really works for me. Something that I really appreciate about Rand, maybe ironically, maybe not, it's just the old adage of if you're not paranoid, you're not paying attention. And I think that's just encapsulates Rand's entire philosophy. He never trusts anyone. He is paranoid as anyone. It's just fun because, well, his paranoia does save him on occasion, but he does need to confide in people such as Moraine, because you do have to confide in someone. You do need help, especially when you know that these people are on your side. Also, I'd like to compliment Jordan's commitment to not throw away minor characters that are briefly mentioned or briefly involved with the main cast. He tends to revisit them, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural. Like Logain, for example, he didn't do a lot in this book, but it is nice that, well, he's there, he's still alive, he's stilled, and presumably Siwan was not the one who gentled him, so he does have a reason to live now, to get his revenge. I just like that aspect of Jordan's storytelling. About Perrin, he was just a huge badass. But I'm not too sure about his position. And what I mean is, I'm not too sure if he is being manipulated into being a leader, or does he secretly want that, accept that. I'm just not too sure if he is evidently not comfortable with that, but yeah, we'll see, time will tell. That being said, him shooting Slayer was absolutely badass. And towards the end, I started to appreciate Fail a bit more. Her proposing to Perrin was adorable. Just their whole relationship towards the end wasn't melodramatic. Was actually fun to read about. And lastly, one of my favorite moments in the book was Nynaeve's encounter with the Forsaken Woman. Because Nynaeve, she may have a short temper, But when it counts, when it really counts, she really steps up. She really has an ability to adapt to a situation, to be aware of her surroundings, and she plans ahead, or at least in the moment, and she tends to do the right thing, even though it may not look from the surface. Also, um, her desire to destroy the seal and the necklace. I was kind of disappointed in Egwene that she didn't brought up the idea of destroying it. She did attempt to destroy it, but it was Nynaeve who insisted on destroying this thing because it could be used on Rand, so let's just drop it in the middle of the sea so no one can use it. So yeah, that's Nynaeve is awesome. Let's move to things I didn't like, and this is really brief. This is just one point that I have. I kind of felt that Egwene got the shorter end of the stick again. There was an improvement, I think, in comparison to book 3, but I really wish she had to do more on her own, because a lot of the things she had to do were in some way connected to Rand, which I guess same goes for Elaine and Nynaeve, but their story felt independent enough, like they had their own agency and things to do that did not revolve specifically about Rand. The things they did contributed towards that goal, but you know what I mean. But on the other hand, I guess that's another positive. Elaine really kind of received an upgrade, if you can call it with that terms. She had a lot to do in this book. Her character really developed, really came out, and it's not like she was a cardboard cutout before, but she is now truly the member of the main cast, and it was fun reading about her. She's far from my favorite, but she's not at the bottom of the barrel. Certainly not. And I will, as always, not give any predictions because I want to leave it for the book at large, the whole book. So I'll wish you a good day, week, approaching weekend. I'll probably post a review of the book tomorrow or on Friday. And on Sunday, we'll have challenge number 2 of the Space Opera Readathon, which will be Becky Chambers and... No, sorry, not Becky Chambers. The Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley. Becky Chambers will come after that. So, thanks for watching me, and I do really mean it. I have 29 subscribers, which is crazy to me. I did not expect that anyone would enjoy my ramblings. As I mentioned before, I will be moving soon back to Croatia. I've been living and working in Tbilisi, Georgia for more than a year now. So I'm coming back to Croatia. And I plan to upgrade my setup a lot. So better microphone, better camera, all that stuff. So hopefully it will have a positive effect on your viewing experience. Bye.